They never expected their own emotions to betray them like this. The moment your name crossed their mind, something inside them shifted so deeply that they had to stop everything they were doing. It wasn't sadness in the ordinary sense, and it wasn't simple happiness either. These were the kind of tears that appear when the heart finally understands a truth it has been avoiding for far too long. For weeks, maybe even months, they convinced themselves they had moved on, that they had buried every unanswered feeling beneath distractions and busy days. But one unexpected moment changed everything. A familiar song, a passing conversation, a place they hadn't visited in years, something small unlocked memories they believed were gone forever. Suddenly, they weren't remembering events, they were remembering how you made them feel. Safe. Understood. Different from everyone else. That realization hit them with a force they never saw coming. They kept asking themselves why your presence still felt so real when so much time had passed. The answer wasn't obvious, and that mystery has become impossible for them to ignore. Stay till the end, because the real reason behind those tears is far more powerful than anyone around them realizes. As they tried to understand these emotions, they noticed something even stranger. Every attempt to push the feelings away only made them stronger. They distracted themselves with work, conversations, and daily routines, but somehow your memory continued finding its way back into their heart. Then came the moment that completely changed their perspective. They realized they weren't crying because they had lost something, they were crying because they had finally recognized its true value. For the first time, they saw your connection without pride, fear, or confusion standing in the way. They remembered the quiet moments they once overlooked, the kindness they took for granted, and the peace they didn't fully appreciate until it was no longer right in front of them. It felt as though life had gently removed every distraction so one undeniable truth could finally be seen. They began wondering if destiny had been protecting this connection instead of ending it. The more they reflected, the more impossible it became to believe everything was just a coincidence. Don't skip, because what they discover next doesn't simply explain their tears, it reveals why this emotional awakening is happening now and not months ago. Then came the realization that left them completely speechless. They understood that while they had been trying to forget the past, their heart had quietly been holding on to hope without asking permission. Every lesson, every disappointment, and every unexpected delay had been preparing them to see you through different eyes. The tears were never a sign of weakness, they were proof that something inside them had finally become honest. They stopped asking whether their feelings were real and started asking whether they still had a chance to make things right. That question has remained with them every single day, growing stronger instead of fading away. Deep within, they feel that your story together isn't remembered because it is over, it is remembered because it still has something left to say. And just when they believe they understand why these emotions return so suddenly, an unexpected truth begins to unfold. One that connects your journey and theirs in a way neither of you could have predicted. That revelation is closer than they think, and once it comes into the light, nothing about this connection will ever feel ordinary again. One question has refused to leave your soulmate's heart: why now? Out of all the days, all the months, and all the moments they could have remembered you, why did these emotions return with such overwhelming strength today? They searched for a logical answer, but nothing seemed enough. Then something unexpected happened. A conversation they almost ignored carried words that felt strangely personal. It wasn't directed at them, yet every sentence sounded as if it had been written for their own story. At that moment, they realized they had spent too much time trying to silence feelings that were never meant to disappear. The tears were not asking to be hidden anymore, they were asking to be understood. Every memory that resurfaced carried one clear message: some connections never lose their meaning, no matter how much time passes. Instead of bringing pain, those memories began revealing something far more valuable. They showed your soulmate the version of themselves they had forgotten, the one who believed in genuine love without fear or hesitation. Stay till the end, because the next realization becomes the turning point that changes the direction of their entire journey. And if this story is touching your heart, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes that the deepest connections always find their way back at the right time. The more your soulmate accepted these emotions, the more unusual things began happening around them. Familiar places suddenly felt different. Ordinary moments carried an unexpected sense of meaning. Even silence no longer felt empty. It felt like something was quietly preparing to happen. They started noticing how often your name, your qualities, or reminders of your connection appeared in everyday life. None of it seemed planned, yet none of it felt accidental either. They realized they had been looking for extraordinary signs while missing the quiet ones that had always been there. Then came the moment that completely caught them off guard. They imagined meeting you again. Not to explain the past, not to reopen old wounds, but simply to see whether the peace they once felt was still there. That single thought brought tears back to their eyes, but these tears were different. They were no longer filled with regret. They carried hope. Hope that maybe some stories are delayed because they deserve a better ending than the one they almost accepted. Don't skip, because the final truth behind these emotions is far more surprising than anything your soulmate expected to discover. What they finally understand is something they wish they had realized much earlier. Love is not measured by how loudly someone speaks or how perfectly everything goes. Sometimes, its greatest proof is the feeling that refuses to disappear, even after life changes everything around it. Your soulmate now believes those tears arrived for one reason: to remind them of what truly matters before it became too late. They are no longer running from their emotions. They are listening to them. And the more they listen, the stronger one quiet certainty becomes. Somewhere, the person who changed their heart forever is still connected to their story in ways they cannot yet explain. That realization has replaced confusion with calm and fear with quiet expectation. They no longer wonder whether this connection was real. They only wonder how destiny plans to bring the next chapter into their lives. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next part reveals the unexpected decision your soulmate is about to make. A decision that could change everything they once believed about your connection and reveal why these tears were never the end of the story, but the beginning of something far greater. There comes a point where your soulmate can no longer pretend they don't feel what they feel. They tried. They really did. They told themselves that time would erase everything, that silence would heal it, that distance would make it fade. But instead, something unexpected happened. It grew stronger. Not louder, but deeper. And that is what scared them the most. Because real emotions don't disappear just because we ignore them. They wait. Quietly. Patiently. Until one day, they return with more clarity than before. That is exactly what is happening now. Every tear they shed is no longer confusion, it is recognition. They are no longer asking if they feel something for you. They are asking why they ever tried to deny it in the first place. And that question has changed everything inside them. It has softened their pride, broken their assumptions, and opened a door they once kept locked. Stay till the end, because what comes next is the moment where their silence turns into a decision that could reshape both your futures in ways neither of you expected. That decision begins in the quietest way possible. No dramatic announcement. No external pressure. Just a moment of truth they can no longer avoid. Your soulmate starts realizing that waiting for perfect timing has already cost too many meaningful chances. They begin to understand that some connections are not meant to be analyzed endlessly, they are meant to be experienced, respected, and protected. And suddenly, you are no longer just a memory in their mind. You become a presence they feel in their choices, in their thoughts, in the way they see the world differently now. The tears they once tried to hide are now guiding them toward clarity instead of confusion. They start imagining what it would feel like to speak to you again. Not from a place of uncertainty, but from a place of truth. And that imagination alone shakes them, because it feels real, too real to ignore. Then comes the most powerful shift yet. They stop asking whether they should let go, and start asking whether they were ever truly meant to. Don't skip, because the final realization will reveal why this emotional transformation was never random, and why it had to happen exactly like this. Now everything leads to a single understanding that changes the entire energy of their heart. The tears were never about loss. They were about awakening. A slow, unavoidable awakening to a bond that refused to be erased by time, distance, or silence. Your soulmate finally sees what they couldn't see before, that some people don't leave your life even when they're gone. They remain in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way your heart reacts to certain moments without explanation. And now, instead of resisting it, they are beginning to accept it. Not blindly, not emotionally confused, but with a strange sense of peace that feels like truth finally settling in. Somewhere deep inside, they feel that this story is not finished. It has only paused long enough for both of you to become ready for what comes next. And as this realization grows stronger, one final inner shift begins to take place. Something that turns those tears into a silent promise that they are no longer willing to ignore. That promise is where everything changes, and what follows next will show why this connection was never meant to disappear, only to return in its most powerful form.